Imagine opening your eyes and realizing, before you even remember your own name, that something feels unmistakably different. There is no bed beneath your back, no familiar pressure of gravity pulling your body downward, no sensation of weight in your arms or legs. Instead, you are suspended in a quiet, gentle float, as if the air itself were a warm, invisible ocean holding you in place. And while your mind is still trying to understand this new feeling, a soft, bluish glow begins to seep in from your left. You turn, slowly, carefully, learning instinctively that even the smallest movement sends your body drifting. And then you see it. A sight so impossibly beautiful, so overwhelming that no documentary, no photograph, no science class, not even a lifetime of imagination could prepare you for it. Through a small circular window framed by cold metal and tiny bolts hangs the entire Earth. Not a map, not a projection, but the real planet, floating in darkness, glowing faintly as clouds swirl over continents, storms twist across oceans, and the thin blue line of the atmosphere curves delicately around the world like a fragile shell of light. For a few seconds, you forget to breathe. That's how powerful the view is. And then, without effort, without thinking, your mind whispers the same question every astronaut asks the first time they see this view. How is this even real? Tonight, in this long and gentle journey designed to help you relax, unwind, and drift deeper into a peaceful state, you will discover exactly what it would feel like to live here. Not just to visit for a moment, but to truly live aboard a space station orbiting hundreds of miles above the Earth. You will learn how mornings begin when there is no sunrise, how water behaves when it refuses to fall, how food tastes when gravity no longer helps it reach your tongue, how sleep feels when your body has no weight, and how life changes when your home is a silent metal world drifting endlessly through space. You will explore daily routines, small challenges, surprising comforts, hidden dangers, and the profound emotional impact of watching your entire planet pass beneath your feet every 90 minutes. So settle into a comfortable position, breathe slowly, and let your mind float with you, just as your body would if you truly lived here. Because from this moment on, you're not lying in your bed anymore. You're on board a space station, drifting softly above the world, beginning your very first day in orbit. Your first morning in space begins long before you consciously decide to wake up. Because on a space station, morning is not something the sun gives you. It is something the station creates for you. There is no sunrise streaming through curtains, no birds, no distant cars, no warmth slowly filling a room. Instead, the lights around your sleeping area brighten in a gentle gradient, programmed to imitate dawn, warming from a dim blue to a soft white, telling your brain, it's time to begin your day, even though outside the earth below is still wrapped in night. And 15 minutes from now, it will be in daylight again. As your eyes open, nothing moves except you. Every small breath shifts your position slightly because nothing holds you down. Even the act of waking up feels different. There is no stiffness in your lower back, no pressure on your shoulders, no weight on your hips. Your spine, usually compressed by gravity, feels strangely extended, longer, lighter. Most astronauts say their first mornings in microgravity give them a sensation of being taller, as if their body had quietly stretched overnight. You reach toward the small straps that kept your sleeping bag anchored to the wall, because without them, you would have drifted across the cabin while asleep. And as you loosen the clips, you feel yourself gently lifting away, like a balloon released from someone's hand. For a moment, it's disorienting. Your arms float upward on their own like you're underwater. Your legs drift behind you. There's no up or down, only the soft hum of machines and the faint vibration of air circulators moving oxygen through the station. You take your first full breath of morning air in orbit, noticing how it feels a little cooler, a little drier, with a faint metallic scent caused by filters and recycled atmosphere. You stretch, or at least you attempt to, but stretching without gravity is different. There's no resistance, no tension. You have to hold onto a handrail just to extend your arms properly. It's strangely satisfying, but there's something else happening inside your body. Something subtle, yet profound. Your sense of balance, controlled by the tiny, fluid-filled canals in your inner ear, is confused. Those canals evolved to interpret gravity, to tell you which way is down and how fast you're moving, but here they receive no clear signal. Some astronauts feel slightly dizzy. Others feel like they're gently rotating even when they're completely still. Your brain is recalibrating itself, trying to build a new understanding of orientation with no gravity to guide it. You take it slowly, letting the feeling settle. And as you float silently in your small sleeping area, surrounded by soft lights, quiet fans, and the endless night visible through the distant window, one thought begins to form, a realization that feels almost surreal. This is what waking up feels like when your home is not on Earth, but orbiting above it. Outside, the station continues gliding around the planet at more than 17,000 miles per hour, but inside, everything feels calm, almost still. You take hold of a rail, brace your feet against a padded surface that offers just enough friction to give a sense of direction, and prepare for the first ritual of every astronaut's day, learning how to move, clean, eat, and live in a place where none of the rules from Earth apply. Your morning has only begun, but already your body understands that nothing about today will feel ordinary, and yet, in its own quiet way, it will become routine, your new version of normal. The first hour of your day on a space station feels like an intricate dance that your body is still learning, a slow negotiation with physics where every movement must be intentional, gentle, and surprisingly patient. On Earth, you can stumble half awake to the bathroom, splash water on your face, brush your teeth without thinking, and let muscle memory take care of the rest. But up here, nothing behaves the way you expect. Not the water, not your limbs, not even your sense of direction. As you release your sleeping bag fully and drift into the main module, your hand immediately reaches for the nearest rail, almost instinctively, like grabbing the edge of a pool as you float. Your body wants an anchor, and the station provides them everywhere. Padded handles, metal bars, fabric loops, all designed to give your hands a way to tell your body where to go. You guide yourself toward the small hygiene station, a simple white panel covered with tiny pouches, tools, and sealed containers. There is no sink, no running water, no drain. When you reach for the toothpaste, you must tuck your feet behind a strap to keep yourself from drifting away. Even brushing your teeth becomes a slow, almost meditative act. Instead of letting water fall downward, you squeeze a bead of toothpaste that immediately forms a little floating sphere, shimmering like a tiny planet suspended in front of your face. You guide the brush into it carefully and start brushing. When it's time to rinse, you can't spit into a sink. Instead, you swallow or wipe your mouth with a small absorbent cloth designed specifically for space hygiene. Everything must stay contained. A single drop of water drifting freely can get into equipment, instruments, or ventilation systems. You reach for a sealed pouch of drinking water, gently squeeze it, and a bubble forms inside the straw. You take small sips. In space, you don't really drink. You guide liquids. Then comes the delicate process of washing your face. There is no splash of cold water to shock you awake. Instead, you apply just a few drops onto a towel, treated to hold moisture. Press it gently against your skin and feel a strange sensation. The water doesn't run. It clings to your face until you wipe it away. Your skin feels slightly different afterward, not because of the water itself, but because of the humidity and recycled air in the station. Everything feels more controlled, more engineered. Even going to the bathroom is an exercise in precision. The station's toilet uses gentle suction rather than gravity, ensuring everything goes exactly where it must. There are foot restraints and handrails to help you stay in place. Privacy exists, but it's minimal, and the entire experience is a reminder that your body, your habits, and even your instincts are all visitors here, adapting to a world not designed for human biology. Once you finish, you push off lightly from the wall and float toward your storage compartment, where today's clothes wait inside a small pouch. Getting dressed without gravity is almost like wrestling with fabric underwater. Every sleeve floats, every pant leg drifts away from you. You hold one piece of clothing against your chest, maneuver an arm in, then twist your body just enough to slide the other arm through without losing control. It's slow, deliberate, almost ritualistic. And yet, as you adjust your shirt and secure the small tabs meant to keep loose fabric from interfering with equipment, something shifts inside you. The station starts to feel just a little more familiar. You're beginning to understand its rhythm. Move gently, think ahead, keep everything controlled. This first hour, once chaotic, surprising, and filled with tiny challenges, becomes a quiet lesson in patience and awareness. You start to feel like you belong here, not fully, not permanently, but enough to continue exploring your day. And as you guide yourself along the rail toward the next module, you realize that living in space is not about mastering big, dramatic tasks. It's about adapting to hundreds of small ones, each one reshaping the way you understand your own body and the world around you. Breakfast on a space station is not just a meal. It is a quiet reminder that you live in a place where even the most ordinary routines must be reinvented. On Earth, breakfast is casual, pouring cereal, scrambling eggs, spreading butter on toast, the familiar sense of coffee drifting through the air. But here, floating hundreds of miles above the planet, food behaves differently. Aromas stay contained inside sealed packages, and every ingredient has been carefully engineered so it won't crumble, spill, or drift into the station's equipment. As you reach the small galley module, you anchor your foot under a short strap and grip a rail to steady yourself. In front of you, there is no table, no stove, no refrigerator. Instead, there are compact food packets neatly attached to a Velcro panel, color-coded and labeled, each one designed to stay sealed until you're ready to eat. You look over the choices: oatmeal, scrambled eggs, fruit puree, yogurt with granola, breakfast bars, all preserved, dehydrated, or thermostabilized. You choose one pouch, press it gently between your fingers, and feel its texture. Lightweight, slightly firm, vacuum-sealed. This is breakfast in orbit. To prepare it, you insert a small valve into the station's water dispenser. There are two settings: hot water and ambient temperature water. You select hot, and a soft rush of steam-like warmth moves through the narrow tube. The pouch fills with the exact amount of water needed, regulated by sensors that ensure nothing overflows. Then you knead the pouch carefully, mixing everything inside like a soft clay. The food slowly hydrates, absorbing the water evenly. There is something ritualistic about this process, something almost calming. You wait a moment, letting the heat spread through the pouch, and then you take a pair of small scissors attached to the station with a string, because if you drop them, they won't fall. They'll float and cut the designated corner. Inside, the food looks slightly different from what you remember on Earth, but the smell is comforting. You take your first bite with a spoon that has a small magnet on its side, allowing you to stick it to the metal panel if you let go. As you bring the spoon to your mouth, you notice something subtle. The aroma doesn't travel through the air like it would on Earth. Scents don't float freely here. They stay inside the packet until the very moment you release them. Each bite has a mild, muted flavor. That's because microgravity affects your body's fluid distribution. More fluids rise toward your head, causing a slight congestion that dulls your sense of taste, similar to having a mild cold. This is why astronauts often crave stronger flavors, like spicy sauces or tangy foods, to compensate for the muted sensation. You continue eating slowly, watching tiny droplets cling to the spoon instead of falling. There is something strangely peaceful about it. The quietness, the precision, the simplicity. Breakfast is not rushed here. It's deliberate, thoughtful, almost meditative. Food doesn't crumble. It stays together. Drinks don't slosh. They remain trapped inside sealed pouches. Even crumbs are impossible because everything is engineered to avoid them. You grab a packet of coffee. Yes, coffee exists in space, and attach it to the water dispenser. The scent is faint but present. You drink through a straw, feeling the warm liquid glide smoothly, guided more by suction than gravity. It's not the same as sipping from a mug on Earth, but it carries its own charm, the comfort of routine in a place where routine is scarce. As you finish breakfast, you store the empty pouches in a designated waste compartment, ensuring nothing floats away. The galley area remains perfectly clean. Even the small tools and utensils stay in place, secured by magnets or Velcro. And then something unexpected happens. You drift for a moment near the main window, the one that looks out onto the Earth. You take a small sip of coffee, and the flavor seems to deepen, not because the taste changed, but because of the view. Down below, entire continents are glowing under a fresh sunrise. Oceans shimmer with patches of silver light, and the thin blue atmosphere, the very shield that protects all life, glows softly like a sapphire halo. Eating breakfast while looking at Earth from orbit is a quiet, almost sacred experience. It reminds you how fragile and beautiful everything is, how lucky you are to witness this, how extraordinary it is to start your day not in a kitchen or cafe, but drifting beside a window where the world itself becomes the view. Breakfast in space is simple, but the experience is unforgettable. And as you secure your last utensil and glide gently toward the next module, you realize that your day is only beginning, and everything you'll do next will be unlike anything on Earth. Moving around a space station for the first time is like relearning how to exist inside your own body, as if someone quietly disabled the invisible force that has guided you since the moment you were born. On Earth, walking is automatic. Your muscles, balance, and inner ear all cooperate without conscious effort. But here, in microgravity, every movement becomes deliberate. You don't walk, you don't step, you glide, you float. And to do that safely, gracefully, and without accidentally launching yourself into equipment, you must learn a new language of motion. One where your hands become your feet, your arms become your stabilizers, and your body becomes a slow-moving spacecraft navigating corridors of air. As you leave the galley module, you gently tuck your toes under a small metal railing and push off with the softest possible force. Instantly, you begin drifting forward, your body weightless and effortless, traveling silently through the narrow passage connecting one module to another. It feels like swimming without water, like dreaming you can fly but finally experiencing it awake. The key is to move slowly. Too much force and you'll bounce off a wall. Too little and you'll drift aimlessly, waiting for something to grab. The station is full of handrails. Along the walls, near every piece of equipment, beside storage panels, even on the ceiling. Though ceiling and floor mean nothing here. You reach out, lightly touch a handle, and your entire body responds, rotating smoothly with almost no resistance. If you turn your wrist a little too much, you spin more than expected. If you pull too quickly, you accelerate unexpectedly. Everything is amplified because nothing pushes back. You learn to keep your movements compact and gentle, like a quiet ballet performed in slow motion. As you guide yourself through a wider module, you see other crew members moving with an elegance you don't have yet. They drift effortlessly, giving small nudges with a fingertip, slowing themselves with the lightest touch against a padded wall, stopping mid-air with precise control. They move like they belong here, because after enough time, they do. One astronaut passes by you upside down, though in space, no one calls it upside down. He smiles, gives you a nod, and floats calmly toward a workstation on what your brain insists is the ceiling. Your inner sense of direction protests for a moment, but slowly adapts. You begin to realize something profound. Orientation is optional here. Up, down, left, right. These words become suggestions rather than rules. You could choose any direction to be forward, and all that matters is where you want to go next. As you reach the central hub, a node-like module where multiple corridors meet, you notice how the layout feels like a three-dimensional crossroads. Some crew members move horizontally, others vertically, some diagonally. All paths are equal. You push off again, drifting into a new passageway, and notice the gentle hum of ventilation fans, the rhythmic clicking of equipment, and the faint vibration coming from the station's stabilizing gyroscopes. These sounds become your new background noise, replacing traffic, wind, and distant voices from Earth. Moving becomes easier with practice. Instead of grabbing rails constantly, you begin to use your body's momentum. If you push off softly from a wall, you glide several feet. If you tuck your knees in slightly, you rotate. If you extend your arms, you slow down. It becomes a game of physics. Predict where you'll end up, adjust early, avoid drifting into a laptop, experiment rack, or another astronaut. Sometimes you overshoot your target and gently collide with a cushioned surface. No one minds. It's expected. But gradually, something clicks. You push off from one module, angle your body perfectly, grab a rail for a fraction of a second, pivot through a hatchway, and glide into the next section with surprising accuracy. For the first time, you feel the joy of microgravity. Not just the novelty, but the efficiency. You're using your body exactly the way this environment demands. Floating is no longer strange. It's peaceful, liberating, almost addicting. And then you experience a moment every astronaut remembers. You stop in the middle of a large module, release all handrails, let your limbs drift freely, and allow yourself to hover in complete stillness. No tension, no pressure points, no weight, just being, suspended in silence, surrounded by the gentle heartbeat of distant machinery. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the soft airflow against your face, the faint rotational sensation that your inner ear is still adjusting to, the distant creaks of the station expanding and contracting with temperature shifts. When you open your eyes again, Earth appears through a nearby window, vast, bright, blue, and impossibly alive. And you realize that learning to move in this weightless world is more than just adapting to a new environment. It's learning how to exist in a place that asks almost nothing from your muscles, but everything from your awareness. A place where motion is not just walking, it is flying, gliding, floating, exploring. And now that you can finally move through the station with a touch of confidence, you're ready for what comes next. Your first real look at the planet below. Through the window, every astronaut calls the most beautiful place in orbit. Your first real look at Earth from orbit is not something your mind can prepare for. No matter how many images you've seen, documentaries you've watched, or simulations you've tried. Even knowing what to expect doesn't lessen the impact. As you glide toward the station's largest window, a circular viewport where astronauts often gather just to breathe, think, or simply exist, you feel a quiet anticipation building inside you. The light changes as you approach. It's not like sunlight through a window on Earth. It's sharper, purer, untouched by atmosphere, painting the interior of the station with a pale glow. When you finally reach the edge of the module, hook your toes under a small rail and let your body drift into position. You place your hand on the padded rim of the viewport and look outward, and suddenly everything inside you becomes silent. Below you, the Earth fills the entire window, enormous and glowing, as if it were a living dream suspended in darkness. You see colors you've never truly noticed before, not in pictures, not in movies, not even in your imagination. The blues of the ocean are layered, shifting from deep midnight to brilliant turquoise. The continents look soft and textured, painted with patterns of deserts, forests, mountains, and plains. Clouds swirl like delicate white ribbons, forming spirals over storms that look small from here but stretch hundreds of miles across. Thin streaks of sunlight reflect off the water in shimmering silver, like liquid glass. And the atmosphere, that thin, fragile blue line that hugs the planet's surface, glows with a softness that feels almost unreal, a reminder of how delicate the boundary between life and space truly is. You watch entire weather systems drift slowly over the planet, moving with a grace you never noticed from the ground. You see storms forming, clouds expanding, shadows stretching across coastlines. You watch the shadow of night sweep across the globe, transforming bright landscapes into deep blue darkness. From up here, the world looks peaceful, heartbreakingly peaceful, as if all of its noise, chaos, and complications have been muted by distance. The station orbits the Earth every 90 minutes, which means you see a sunrise and sunset 16 times a day. And the first one you witness from this window is unlike anything you've ever seen. The horizon begins to glow, not in a gradual spread like you're used to, but in a sharp, brilliant line of orange and gold. It ignites the atmosphere like a thin ring of fire, spreading along the curve of the Earth until the entire planet brightens beneath you. The darkness below dissolves into a wash of blues, whites, and greens. You're watching a sunrise from the outside, from above, and the scale of it is overwhelming. You feel small, yet connected, distant, yet deeply aware. Many astronauts describe this as the first moment they understand what's called the overview effect, a powerful shift in perspective that happens when you see the Earth from space. Borders disappear, politics vanish, conflicts seem absurd. All you can see is the world as a single, fragile home floating in a vast, silent universe, and something inside you becomes quieter, softer, more aware. You keep staring, unable to look away, drifting slightly as the station moves silently through its orbit. Beneath you, the curve of the planet stretches endlessly, a reminder that this world is alive, breathing, and constantly changing. You see thunderstorms flicker with tiny bursts of white lightning on the night side, like distant camera flashes across continents. You see city lights glowing like constellations reversed onto the surface. You see rivers cutting across landscapes like silver threads. You even see the faint border between land and ocean as a soft gradient of color. And as you float there, absorbing the magnitude of the moment, something shifts inside you. This view, this impossible, perfect view, becomes the anchor of your entire experience in space, the place you return to when you need comfort, clarity, or simply a reminder of why humans explore at all. After several minutes that feel like seconds, or maybe several seconds that feel like minutes, you finally pull yourself away, letting your hand slip from the viewport's edge. The station continues its orbit, the Earth continues its slow rotation, and you drift gently backward, carrying with you a feeling that can never fully be described, only experienced. You now understand why astronauts often call this window the most beautiful place, not just in space, but in the entire universe. Work on a space station does not feel like work in the way you know it on Earth. There is no commute, no office chair, no waiting in traffic, no morning crowds, no elevators, no busy hallways. Instead, your office is a floating laboratory traveling 17,500 miles per hour above the Earth. And your tasks unfold calmly in the soft hum of machinery, the faint vibration of stabilizers, and the weightless drift of a place where everything is a controlled partnership between humans and physics. As you guide yourself toward the main laboratory module, you slip your hands along the padded rails and float through the hatch, entering a space filled with equipment, experiment racks, laptops secured to walls, storage drawers labeled with Velcro tags, and containers clipped gently into place so nothing drifts unexpectedly. The workday begins with a digital checklist, not a clipboard, because paper would flutter everywhere, but a tablet mounted to a flexible arm. You unhook it, secure your feet beneath a small restraint to keep your position steady, and review the schedule set by mission control. The tasks are varied: monitoring experiments, adjusting settings on scientific instruments, calibrating equipment, performing maintenance checks, collecting data, documenting results, and sometimes participating in studies about your own body. Living in orbit means you are both the scientist and the experiment. One of your first assignments of the day is to check a plant growth experiment. Small seedlings, grown in carefully controlled pods, float inside a transparent growth chamber that simulates the soil, light, and humidity conditions normally provided by Earth. Without gravity, plants behave differently. Their roots don't know which way to grow, their stems don't bend upward, and their leaves are more delicate. You examine their progress, take photos, make notes, and adjust the nutrient flow system. The plants sway slightly inside their enclosure, not because of wind, but because of airflow from the station's ventilation system. Next, you float to a workstation containing a fluid physics experiment. In microgravity, liquids behave in strange and mesmerizing ways. Instead of forming droplets that fall or splash, they merge into perfect spheres, stretching and pulsing like living orbs. Scientists on Earth rely on astronauts to observe how fluids move in the absence of gravity, because these behaviors help improve medical devices, water systems, and even spacecraft designs. You activate the equipment, watch a sphere of water oscillate between two plates, and record its motion with a high-speed camera. Every detail matters, and your calm, steady presence in this weightless lab becomes part of the science itself. Another task involves monitoring a small combustion experiment. Fire in space does not flicker. It forms smooth, round flames that glow softly like blue halos. These experiments are performed inside sealed chambers to ensure complete safety. You adjust the settings, confirm the oxygen levels inside the chamber, and observe how the flame changes shape. The behavior of fire in microgravity teaches scientists how to improve engines, understand fuel combustion, and design safer technology back on Earth. Throughout the day, small messages appear on the schedule screen. Check air filter status, inspect treadmill harness, replace data cartridge, prepare samples for return to Earth, review structural integrity log. Each task is simple in isolation, but together they help keep the entire station functioning. Maintenance is a constant priority. Every pump, filter, panel, and cable matters. You occasionally assist with mechanical tasks, tightening a bolt or checking a joint that naturally expands and contracts as the station passes from sunlight into darkness and back again. Even a minor temperature change can shift metal components. You float to a workstation where a blood sample kit waits for you. Part of living in orbit is studying how the human body adapts. You measure your heart rate, check your blood pressure, and collect small samples that will later be stored in a freezer until they return to Earth. Over time, microgravity causes muscle loss, bone density reduction, fluid redistribution, and changes in vision. And every reading you record helps scientists design better health systems for future missions. Occasionally, mission control calls through a calm, steady voice. The connection includes a slight delay, only a second but noticeable, as your words bounce off satellites before reaching Earth. You discuss data, confirm instructions, and receive updates. Communication is simple, structured, and always respectful. Even thousands of miles apart, you feel like part of a grounded, unified team. As you move through the lab, a floating storage bag bumps gently into the back of your arm. You turn, catch it before it drifts away, and secure it again. Even the simplest interruption becomes a gentle reminder of where you are. Work in orbit flows differently. You cannot rush. You cannot drop things. You cannot rely on habits from Earth. Every motion is slow, intentional, and efficient in its own unique rhythm. The entire environment feels like a quiet symphony of humans and machines working in harmony. And yet, despite the constant tasks, there are moments when you pause, mid-experiment, mid-drift, look out the small window across the module, and see a sliver of Earth glowing beneath you. You realize that your workplace has the most extraordinary view any human could ever have. And even though the day is busy, there's always time to breathe, to float, and to admire the world below before you move on to whatever comes next. Life with your crew on a space station is unlike any social environment you have ever experienced, not because it is distant or unfamiliar, but because it is so deeply intentional, quiet, and balanced. Up here, every person becomes part of a small, floating family, each one adapting to the same challenges, sharing the same routines, navigating the same weightless world. As you drift into the crew quarters during a break between tasks, you're greeted not by the sound of footsteps or chairs scraping across a floor. Nothing makes those kinds of noises in microgravity, but by soft voices, light laughter, and the gentle hum of the station's life support systems. Some crew members float in place with their feet hooked into straps, talking casually while sipping from drink pouches. Others drift near laptops mounted to the walls, reviewing data or writing messages to send home when satellite connections allow. The atmosphere is calm, focused, and warm in a way that feels both scientific and surprisingly cozy. Social interactions on Earth are often shaped by movement. Walking towards someone, sitting beside them, turning your body to face them. But here, conversation happens in 3 dimensions. Someone might float horizontally while talking to someone vertical. Another might be upside down relative to you, though no one here uses those words. Orientation is fluid, and the group adapts without thinking. The crew chats about experiments, about the progress of the solar panels, about how someone's plant sample grew faster than expected. The tone is light, respectful, and often sprinkled with humor. Astronaut humor tends to be quiet and clever. Small jokes about floating tools, meals that drifted away, or a crew member's graceful but unintended somersault while turning a corner. These small moments of laughter are important. Humor keeps everyone grounded emotionally, even when gravity itself is gone. Every now and then, someone glides gently to a wall panel where family photos are clipped with Velcro, snapshots of spouses, children, pets, and favorite places back on Earth. The photos don't sit on desks, because nothing sits anywhere. They float unless secured. You look at your own photo, maybe a beach you love, a mountain trail you used to hike, a smiling face you miss. For a moment, space feels farther away, and then the crew's presence brings you back. You're not alone here. You share meals, you share work, you share the breathtaking view of Earth that only a handful of humans have ever seen. Communication between crew members is calm and clear. Voices stay soft. The station is a place where noise travels easily, and the environment is already filled with constant low mechanical sounds, fans, pumps, systems that keep you alive. People speak gently to avoid adding unnecessary chaos. It creates a peaceful, almost meditative social atmosphere. Sometimes in the evenings, which are only symbolic in a place where 16 sunsets happen each day, the crew gathers for a brief moment in one of the larger modules. Someone plays music through a small speaker, floating it in the air. The music sounds different up here. There are no echoes from large open spaces, no deep bass resonating through floors, no street noise outside the window. It feels soft and contained, like a quiet soundtrack for your orbiting world. Crew traditions emerge naturally. One astronaut always tells a story about their childhood while floating upside down. Another takes a few minutes each night to watch a particular city pass beneath the station, their hometown thousands of miles away. Someone else keeps a small ritual of writing 3 things they appreciated during the day. Space brings out this kind of reflection. Even meals become small social celebrations. Eating together in microgravity means floating close, passing food pouches carefully, sharing reactions to flavors that sometimes taste slightly muted. Someone might squeeze a pouch of peanut butter and watch it form a perfect sphere, making everyone laugh. Another might stick a utensil to the wall with a magnet and challenge others to retrieve it without floating away. The smallest actions become memorable up here. During quieter moments, you notice how people check on each other, not in a forced or formal way, but gently, naturally. A simple, "How are you feeling?" means more when you're hundreds of miles above the Earth, in an environment that relies on emotional stability as much as technical skills. Crew members know when someone is tired, or homesick, or adjusting to a new task. They offer support through calm advice, a shared joke, or just silent company beside a window looking down at the world. Living in such close quarters builds trust quickly. You rely on each other for safety, for comfort, for connection, and for maintaining the delicate balance of a habitat that depends on harmony. You learn to appreciate small moments of companionship, two people drifting together while reviewing data, a crewmate offering a pouch of warm food, someone tapping your shoulder lightly when it's your turn at an experiment. And as you float there, listening to voices and soft laughter, watching your crew move with effortless grace through the air, you feel something rare and beautiful, a sense of belonging in a place where nothing stands still, a sense that even far from Earth, high above its glowing surface, you are part of a team, a small, extraordinary community suspended between the planet below and the stars beyond. Exercise in space is not optional, it is survival. On Earth, gravity quietly trains your body every second of your life, pulling you downward, keeping your bones dense, your muscles engaged, your heart pumping with the effort of simply standing or walking. Up here, in microgravity, that constant training disappears. Your muscles no longer need to hold you up. Your bones no longer need to support your weight. Your cardiovascular system no longer fights gravity to push blood through your legs. The result is swift and dramatic. Without exercise, your body would begin weakening within hours, losing muscle mass, bone density, and cardiovascular strength at a rate far faster than anything that happens on Earth. That's why every astronaut must dedicate a significant part of the day to working out, not to build strength, but to preserve what gravity normally provides. As you glide into the exercise module, the mood shifts slightly. The space is smaller, more compact, filled with equipment that looks familiar in shape, but strange in the way it behaves. There is a treadmill, but it doesn't have a moving belt like the one at the gym. Instead, it is mounted on a platform designed to absorb vibrations, so the station doesn't shake with every step. And you don't simply step onto it, you attach yourself to it. A harness system straps around your waist and shoulders, pulling you gently downward, creating an artificial sense of weight so you can simulate running. Without it, your feet would simply bounce off the surface and send you floating backward. You secure the harness, tighten the straps, feel the slight pressure pressing you toward the treadmill, and begin a slow jog. The sensation is bizarre at first. You're running, but not because gravity is pulling you down. You're running because the harness is anchoring you. Each step feels like it springs upward rather than sinks downward. Your breathing becomes steady, rhythmic, filling the small exercise chamber with soft echoes. The entire station vibrates so slightly that only you can feel it. After 20 minutes, sweat forms, not dripping downward like on Earth, but clinging to your skin in perfect droplets, floating until you wipe them away with a towel designed to absorb moisture without letting it escape. Next is the cycle ergometer, a stationary bike without a seat, because sitting has no meaning in microgravity. Instead, you float in front of the bike, hook your feet into the pedals, and hold onto two handles as you begin to cycle. Your legs move smoothly, and you feel the burn of muscle groups that would otherwise be unused. Your heart rate rises, your breathing deepens, and your body begins to do the work it must to stay healthy. The resistance can be adjusted, and you challenge yourself with a level that mimics a steep climb, though there's no hill, no ground, no downward pull. Only the quiet hum of the machine and the sensation of effort traveling through your muscles. Then comes the most important machine, RED, the Advanced Resistive Exercise Device. It looks like a cross between a squat rack and a futuristic fitness machine, using vacuum cylinders instead of weights to create resistance. Because in space, weights are meaningless. A dumbbell that weighs 50 pounds on Earth weighs nothing here. The only way to simulate weight is through resistance systems. You attach yourself to RED and perform squats, deadlifts, rows, and presses. Every motion feels controlled and slow, pushing against resistance that grows heavier the further you move. Your muscles strain, your core tightens, and your body works in a way it hasn't since you left Earth. You breathe deeply, focusing on form, on control, on precision. This isn't just a workout, it's a prescription, one that keeps your bones from losing calcium, your muscles from fading, your cardiovascular system from weakening. As you continue, your mind drifts for a moment. You imagine how strange it is that exercising in orbit is both harder and easier at the same time. Harder because there is no natural gravity to guide your movements. Easier because your body feels lighter, your joints feel freer, and the sensation of moving in a place where nothing weighs anything brings an unexpected sense of freedom. After almost 2 hours, the standard daily requirement, you finish your session. You let go of the equipment and float backward, allowing your breathing to slow naturally. Your muscles feel warm, alive, tingling slightly from the effort. You wipe sweat from your face carefully, capturing every drop. In space, moisture doesn't fall, it gathers. A loose drop can drift into electronics or vents, so you handle it with precision. Your heart rate calms, your chest rises and falls slowly. And for a moment, hanging weightlessly in the exercise module, you become aware of the profound contrast of this environment. You drift in silence, weightless, completely free, yet at the same time, your survival depends on discipline, routine, and constant motion. When you finally glide out of the exercise area, you feel both lighter and stronger. Your muscles buzz gently, your limbs float effortlessly. And as you push yourself toward the next module, you sense that your body, though far from Earth, is adapting, learning, and rediscovering itself in a place where nothing stands still and nothing ever truly rests. Night on a space station is unlike any night you have ever known because it never arrives naturally, never lingers, and never truly belongs to the stars. Instead, it comes on command. A gentle adjustment of lights, a soft dimming of the modules, a shift in atmosphere created not by the world outside, but by human design. Outside the windows, the Earth slips into darkness every 90 minutes. Only to burst back into daylight shortly after. Up here, there is no long evening, no gradual sunset stretching across the horizon, no hours of deepening shadows. Night is a concept, not a condition. And yet, as the crew begins to wind down for the day, the station takes on a uniquely peaceful mood. You drift through the softly lit modules as overhead lights fade from bright white to warm amber, giving the interior a quiet, golden glow. The constant hum of ventilation systems becomes more noticeable in the calm. There are no footsteps, no closing doors, no settling buildings, just the consistent, rhythmic breath of the station, keeping everyone alive. The air feels slightly cooler now, circulating gently in soft currents that brush against your face as you float. Some crew members secure themselves in their sleeping quarters, while others take a moment to enjoy the view one last time before bed, gathering briefly around windows to watch the night side of Earth pass beneath the station. From up here, Earth's darkness is anything but empty. City lights glimmer like constellations reversed onto the surface, forming glowing networks that trace coastlines, highways, and the outlines of distant towns. Small clusters of light shine in the middle of nowhere, telling stories of remote communities. Lightning storms flash across oceans and continents like quiet pulses, illuminating vast stretches of cloud in sudden bursts of white. The sight is mesmerizing, a living map of human presence glowing softly against the deep blue-black of the planet's shadow. You take a moment to press your hand gently against the padded edge of a window. The temperature difference between the cold glass and the warm cabin air creates a subtle layer of condensation that disappears almost instantly. Outside, the universe looks impossibly still, frozen in silence. But inside, everything is alive, moving, breathing, keeping time with the people floating within it. As you move toward your sleeping compartment, you pass by the galley and see a crewmate quietly securing a pouch of warm tea to a Velcro panel, leaving it there to finish cooling. Someone else carefully folds their tablet against the wall before drifting away. Small rituals like these bring comfort, structure, and a sense of normalcy to a place that has none of Earth's familiar rhythms. Night in orbit is also a time of reflection. With so few sensory distractions and no horizon to anchor your thoughts, your mind feels unusually open, drifting as freely as your body. You think about the day, the work you completed, the experiments you monitored, the breathtaking view of Earth, the laughter with your crew, the quiet challenge of moving and living without gravity. Everything feels condensed, meaningful, connected. You feel grateful. You feel suspended in a moment that few humans will ever experience. The transition to night is completed when the main lights dim to their lowest level, leaving only soft guide lights glowing in cool hues along the walls. They cast faint reflections on metal surfaces, giving the station a serene, almost dreamlike quality. Without gravity, there is no sensation of sinking into bed or lying down to rest. Instead, night becomes a float, a gentle drift through a golden, hushed habitat. The station's exterior panels groan softly as they cool from the sun's intense heat after moving into Earth's shadow. It's a slow, metallic sigh, subtle but strangely comforting, reminding you that the spacecraft itself is alive in its own way, expanding and contracting as it travels endlessly around the planet. As you approach your sleeping area, a small personal nook no larger than a closet, you see the sleeping bags hanging against the walls, like vertical cocoons. Crew members disappear into them, securing themselves in place so they don't drift into equipment or each other during sleep. You check in briefly with mission control for the final time of the cycle. Their voices sound calmer at this hour, softened by the knowledge that even in orbit, humans still need rest. When you silence your communication panel, the silence inside the station feels softer, more intimate, almost like the quiet of a library at night. This is night in orbit, not darkness, not stillness, not the comforting weight of gravity, but a floating pause between cycles of sun and shadow. A pause that belongs entirely to the people who choose to live above the world, drifting gently through their own kind of twilight. Sleeping in space is one of the strangest and most peaceful experiences a human body can have, not because the station becomes silent or because darkness settles, but because your body finally releases the last remnants of its relationship with gravity. On Earth, every night is shaped by weight, the feeling of sinking into a mattress, the pressure of blankets over your chest, the slight ache in your shoulders or hips as muscles relax. But in orbit, none of that exists. When it is time to sleep, you glide into your small personal compartment, a space no bigger than a telephone booth, but one that feels surprisingly comforting in its simplicity. The walls are padded, the air is warm, and a faint vibration hums behind everything, the life support systems breathing for the entire station. You open your sleeping bag, which is anchored vertically to the wall, though vertical has no meaning here. You slip inside, pull the zipper up, and attach the small straps around your shoulders and hips. These aren't meant to restrain you, they're simply there so you won't drift slowly and accidentally bump into the walls as you sleep. Instead of lying down, you float inside the bag, your body suspended in perfect neutrality. There is no pressure on your spine, no weight on your muscles, no need to shift positions or find comfort. Every part of your body is equally free. Your arms hover slightly in front of your chest, unless you gently tuck them inside the bag. Your legs straighten naturally, not because they rest on anything, but because the absence of gravity allows them to relax fully for the first time in your life. Before sleeping, you dim the small interior light of your compartment, letting it settle into a soft, bluish glow. Some astronauts like complete darkness. Others prefer the comfort of a faint light to remind them where they are. You close your eyes, and the sensation is immediate. Your mind begins to drift faster than usual. Without the familiar pull of gravity or the pressure of a mattress supporting your weight, your brain loses one of its oldest cues for orientation. Dreams become different. You don't always feel like your body is falling, floating, or anchored. Sometimes your dreams transition seamlessly into the sensation of drifting you already feel while awake. Many astronauts report that sleep in space feels deeper, more uninterrupted, like being suspended inside a warm, endless ocean. Your breathing slows, your chest rises softly, your heartbeat becomes the primary rhythm you feel, echoing faintly inside the sleeping bag. And then, a surprising realization occurs: the quiet. It's not actual silence because the station is never silent. Fans circulate the air constantly, electronics buzz in hushed tones, pumps shift fluids between systems. But somehow, in this tiny personal space, the hum becomes hypnotic, blending into a steady background whisper that lulls your mind into a deepening calm. As you begin to drift towards sleep, you feel a soft tug behind your eyes, one of the small effects of microgravity. Without gravity pulling fluids downward, more blood collects in your head when lying still in orbit, creating a subtle pressure. It's not painful, it simply makes your face feel slightly fuller, your sinuses slightly denser. Eventually your brain adjusts, quiets, and allows you to sink further into rest. There is also a strange phenomenon that happens as you start dreaming. Because your inner ear no longer has gravity to guide it, your sense of up and down completely dissolves. Your dreams may start without orientation, without direction, without motion. They become more like floating visions, calm, slow, drifting scenes that mirror the environment you inhabit. Sleeping in space becomes not a break from the day, but an extension of the serenity you felt all along. Occasionally, you hear a faint creak from the station's structure, the metal contracting as the spacecraft moves through the shadow of Earth, cooling quickly after the intense heat of direct sunlight. The sound is soft, harmless, and strangely comforting, like the house noises you grew up with, except these belong to a home orbiting above the world. If you open your eyes for a moment, you might see the edges of your compartment gently illuminated by soft guide lights in the hallway outside, casting thin lines of bluish-white glow across the padded walls. There is no sense of a room spinning or a bed shifting. There is no tossing, no turning. Your body simply floats, perfectly supported by nothing at all. And in that weightless stillness, something profound happens. Your mind enters a deeper level of relaxation than it ever could on Earth. The absence of pressure, the gentle hum, the drifting sensation. Everything works together to quiet your thoughts, soften your breath, and ease you into a rest that feels both ancient and futuristic. Slowly, peacefully, you slip deeper into sleep, wrapped not in blankets, but in the silence of space, surrounded by the soft heartbeat of the station, and cradled by a universe where up and down have ceased to exist. This is sleep in microgravity, the quietest, calmest rest a human can experience. Life on a space station may feel peaceful, calm, and almost dreamlike, but behind every quiet moment floats a layer of awareness, a gentle understanding that space, for all its beauty, is still an environment that demands respect. Nothing about orbit is inherently safe. Everything that protects you is engineered, maintained, and monitored with absolute precision. As you float through the softly lit modules at night, or move calmly between workstations during the day, systems around you are constantly measuring, adjusting, analyzing, and guarding against dangers your senses can't detect. One of the most silent yet real threats is micrometeoroids. Tiny fragments of rock and metal, some no bigger than grains of sand, traveling faster than bullets. They drift through space invisibly, and even the smallest one could puncture the hull if it struck at the wrong angle. The station is protected by layers of shielding, each designed to absorb and disperse impact energy, but still, the crew knows that the possibility always exists. The thought doesn't create fear, instead it builds respect. Sensors monitor the external environment around the clock, and mission control constantly tracks known debris, issuing tiny course adjustments when needed. Most of the time, you never feel a thing. The station silently shifts its orbit by fractions of a degree, avoiding threats without disturbing the serenity inside. Radiation is another quiet presence, invisible, omnipresent, and fundamentally different from anything on Earth. Earth's atmosphere and magnetic field shield you from most of it down below, but up here, the protection is thinner. Solar particles, cosmic rays, and bursts of energetic radiation pass through space freely. The station's walls absorb much of it, and dosimeters throughout the modules measure radiation levels continuously. You carry a personal monitor as well, a small device that quietly records your cumulative exposure. The numbers rise slowly, predictably, and safely thanks to careful planning. NASA and other agencies design missions to minimize risk, ensuring no astronaut exceeds safe limits. Every part of the station is a fortress of science, built to keep danger at bay. Yet despite all the protections, alarms are a normal part of life in orbit. They are not loud or chaotic. They are firm, controlled, unmistakably clear. You might be resting in your sleeping bag when a soft but urgent tone echoes through the module. Your heart rate rises slightly, not in panic but in readiness. Each alarm corresponds to a specific pattern and color on the station's displays, allowing the crew to understand instantly what type of issue is being signaled. Sometimes it's a simple systems test, a minor pressure fluctuation, or a sensor calibration. Other times, the station may be preparing for a planned maneuver to avoid debris. And occasionally, there are drills, calm, coordinated rehearsals for events no one wants to experience, but everyone must be prepared for. Fire drills in space feel surreal. Fire behaves differently here, forming spherical flames instead of flickering upward, so extinguishing it requires special training. The crew responds methodically, donning masks, securing ventilation pathways, checking modules, and communicating with mission control. Depressurization drills are even quieter. You practice closing hatches between modules, moving with controlled urgency, sealing off sections of the station to ensure survival. Every step is rehearsed with precision. No chaos, no shouting, only calm voices and steady hands. Emergency medical training is part of life too. With such a small crew in such a remote environment, everyone learns how to assist in treatments, monitor vital signs, and use specialized medical equipment designed for microgravity. And then there are the rare events that make you fully aware of the fragile reality of orbit. Solar storms. When the sun releases bursts of energetic particles, mission control may instruct the crew to move to a module with extra shielding. It feels almost like hiding from a storm on Earth, except instead of wind and rain, it is radiation sweeping silently through space. You gather with your crewmates in a protected area, sharing quiet conversation, sipping warm drinks, and waiting for the storm to pass while the universe churns invisibly outside. Through all of this, something remarkable happens. The sense of danger doesn't make orbit feel frightening. It makes it feel precious, meaningful, deeply human. You begin to appreciate the extraordinary partnership between technology and trust that allows you to live here at all. The alarms, the drills, the protective measures, the constant monitoring, they all work together, seamlessly, turning a hostile environment into a temporary home suspended between Earth and the stars. And even in moments when the station feels vulnerable, you always sense the strength of the people behind it, the engineers who designed it, the scientists who maintain it, the mission controllers who watch every detail from thousands of miles away, and the crew around you who train, prepare, and support each other with a quiet professionalism that never wavers. Space may be unforgiving, but humanity's presence here is built on care, precision, and unity. And as you drift toward the final part of your day, the closure, the reflection, the quiet wonder, you begin to realize that the greatest miracle of living in orbit is not that humans survived here, but that humans learned to thrive. As your final hour in orbit slowly unwinds, the space station settles into a gentle stillness, a kind of hushed equilibrium where every sound softens, every motion slows, and the world outside becomes a silent companion suspended beneath you. You drift through the dim modules one last time today, moving with the ease and confidence you've earned over these quiet hours, touching handrails lightly, letting your body glide through soft amber light as the station completes yet another rotation around the Earth. You pause near a window, not out of duty or curiosity, but because the pull of that view is something you feel now, not in your eyes, but in your heart. You anchor a foot loosely under a strap and let your body float as your hands rest gently against the padded rim. Outside, the Earth glows in its nighttime colors, deep blues and blacks broken by delicate webs of golden city lights. From this distance, continents look like softly illuminated islands floating through shadow, and the thin line of atmosphere curves around them like a fragile halo. The planet breathes slowly as clouds drift across oceans in silent spirals, illuminated from beneath by flashes of lightning that bloom like distant fireflies. You take a quiet breath, the kind that fills not only your lungs but your entire being. Living in orbit changes you in ways you can't anticipate, not in dramatic, sudden moments, but in subtle shifts that accumulate day by day, orbit by orbit. The way you move, the way you think, the way you breathe. The Earth becomes both familiar and astonishing again, a home you've seen millions of times from the ground, but never truly understood until you saw it from above. You are farther away than you've ever been, and yet you feel more connected to it than ever before. You think about the people down there, families gathering for dinner, cities glowing with life, oceans turning with tides, forests rustling in winds that will never reach you here. You think about the quiet places too, mountains sleeping under starlight, deserts cooling under the night, rivers weaving silver lines through valleys unseen in the darkness. All of it is part of your world, turning slowly beneath your weightless feet. The station drifts into sunlight again, and for a moment the planet bursts into color, blues and greens and golds glowing as if lit from within. The sunrise spreads across the curvature of the Earth like a thin ribbon of fire, illuminating clouds from below, sculpting shadows, drawing a line between night and day so precise and delicate that it feels almost spiritual. You watch the light climb across continents, transforming the surface from darkness to brilliance, and you realize this is your 16th sunrise today. Yet it feels new, untouched, like a gift you're seeing for the very first time. After a while, you push gently away from the window, drifting backward with a softness that makes your movement feel like part of a dream. You glide through the quiet modules, passing tools secured with Velcro, laptops folded neatly against walls, small pouches of food waiting for tomorrow, photographs of families clipped in place. Each detail tells a story of people who chose to live here, to float above their home, to carry the human spirit into a place where nothing is familiar and yet everything is meaningful. You reach your sleeping compartment, open it softly, and slip inside. The walls glow faintly with cool, soothing light. You zip yourself into your sleeping bag and feel your body settle into that perfect weightless position, floating, supported by nothing, freed from every pressure you've ever known. Your breathing slows, your eyelids grow heavy. The station's hum becomes a soft blanket of sound, wrapping gently around your thoughts. Outside, the Earth continues to turn, the night sweeping beneath you in vast, silent waves, cities twinkling like scattered constellations on the surface of a world that never stops moving. As you close your eyes, you feel the same serene sensation that has followed you throughout this journey, the feeling of drifting between worlds, carried by a home in the sky, protected by layers of science and human ingenuity, suspended between sunrise and starlight. Your last conscious thought is not about danger or distance or the unfamiliarity of space, but about the simple beauty of being alive in a universe this vast, looking down on the planet that made you who you are. You exhale slowly, letting your mind dissolve into calm. The station glides silently through the cosmos. The Earth glows softly below, and you drift gently into sleep, held by nothing, comforted by everything, peacefully floating in the quietest corner of the universe.